I think I can help you revolutionise the way you provide marking and feedback and feed forward to learners very quickly by using Microsoft Forms, Microsoft Excel, and Mail Merge. The first component of this approach is to create a form using Microsoft Forms that essentially captures all of the likely comments that you might make on your learner's work and converts them into a tick box exercise in a variety of different categories. So a simple example here would be the format of the presentation. So within my module, I try to I teach students about the professional use of PDF format as the final fixed version of a particular document. It's not something that I mark particularly around, but it's something that I try to encourage as part of the learning and therefore integrate into my feedback. So here I have kind of two comments that I might type or potentially in a more automated approach have ready and copy and paste into the students' work. But using the form, I can automate this much more extensively. So I've got a simple choice question, and I've got the two sort of possible options. One is where they've used a PDF and I'm saying positive reinforcement that I think this is good, it's professional, and I'm justifying the reasons for that. And the second option is the opposite, saying, well, actually, you've presented it as a Word document, maybe a PDF might have been better. And the whole form basically is constituted by these optional fields. So another example would be my comment on titles. The top being the sort of the most positive comment, that it was, in my opinion, a fully professional title that clearly represents the topic, down to maybe the bottom option where perhaps a student doesn't have a title. Microsoft Forms is nice because in the in the choice or selection type question, you've always got the option to add other. So if there is a piece of work that doesn't quite fit with one of these standard statements, I can, at the time of using the form, copy and paste the part of maybe a statement in, and I can edit it, or I can write something totally unique that maybe I've not thought about. That's pretty much it, apart from to say that in addition to the selection fields, there is at the end, so these are all my different kind of categories that I might want to make comments about. Some of them are required, some of them are optional, and some of them are multi-choice. So in this case, I can select any of the statements that apply to the student's work, or in other cases, I'm forcing myself to pick between different categories. So that's another type of response I can put in. And finally, there are some additional free text options. So according to my rubric, we mark around comprehension, analysis, critique, and also presentation. And here I can enter any kind of comments, free comments that I might want to include for the student that it isn't been captured in my kind of accumulated bank of feedback and marking responses. I then, at the end of the form, so I always want to link students, my summary of students' work to the descriptors for various marks. So I don't include it in here. I don't have the mark that would equate to these statements. But what I tend to do is, when I'm marking through, I pick a statement that seems to emulate the thing I've just read and the comments and the tick boxes and the comments I've just made above. And then in the four areas of marking, and then I will look over at the rubric to see what the grade equivalents for those statements are, make a judgment as if to that makes sense in terms of the numerical value that I'm applying, the grade, maybe go back and alter some things if necessary to make sure it's coherent, should the student rightly want to compare to the rubric. And obviously this is all about making my process as robust and as aligned as possible. I've then got an overall comment about the quality of the work, which I fill in last, and then I add my one final mark, which in my case I would take from the 20-point marking scale that my university uses. What this looks like as a marker experience. So I've got my, I then move to the marking phase. I've got my student script open. The first thing I'm required to do is enter the university ID of the student submission, because this then helps me link it to the student later. So we then advance onto a new section, so a new page for Microsoft Forms, and then we can see here I have my options. So because the student, let's say, is submitted in Word document, I'm just going to tick that option. And essentially the value of this process is for the cost of me reading the work and ticking that box, the student will be provided with this extent of written feedback. And as you can see, there are quite a few areas of feedback that I want to offer on, all of which costs me nothing more than the time to read the document, which would always be the case, but a simple click. So no typing, no dragging and dropping, apart from where it's necessary to add a bespoke comment, either as a alternative to my pre-templated statements, or something really unique and kind of personalized that I want to put in the options below. So basically I would fill out the form, pop in the mark at the bottom and then submit it, and then move on to the next submission. So this can be done quite quickly, and obviously the amount of areas of comment that you want to make can be entirely adjusted. So this could be a very, very short process if you only had a couple of areas or learning objectives that maybe you are providing feedback on. So then the form within Microsoft Forms, it creates a series of responses. So at the moment I've done 2. And what you would then need to do is to download that in an Excel file. Once you have that saved locally as an Excel file, you will need to use the mail merge function. So open Microsoft Word, go into mailings for mail merge, select recipients from an existing list. So choose an existing list. Mine's already set up, so I won't mess around with it. But then you are able to create a template that will order the comments that are given to the student. Now, these are not the same order that the form is set up. So the form is set up to be the most efficient possible for when I'm moving down the document. Hence the feedback about the format of the document and the title of the document is first for the marker. However, that might not be the most important thing to communicate to the student. So the ordering is different. Now, the top of the document, I put the university student ID. This will help me then complete the automated upload of these comments into our system. But you can see here, so I have, for those of you who don't use mail merge, what I've done here is simply gone to the insert field, and you can then see all of the columns in that spreadsheet. So these are all of the areas where a comment exists, both the templated statements and the free text entries. And what I've done, to give a good example, is the first thing I think the student might be interested in is the overall summary comment. And as you can see, there's the field, and I already add that in, so I'll just take that out. Because it's a mail merge, the whole point is that we can add text within the document that isn't within the templates. So this is the important thing to calibrate when you are creating your templated statements. So some of them you will want to be kind of complete freestanding sentences with a capital letter and a full stop at the end. In other cases, you won't want that because you want maybe some kind of introductory statement. And an example of this is from the kind of the mark descriptors. So I've got the text introduction will be from the template, not from this. You can do it pretty much whichever way you want, but the important thing is that obviously it's consistent when the spreadsheet data is drawn into your mail merge. So I think this is probably the only text. Oh yes, so the introduction to each paragraph, I've got some text that precedes the first statement. And as you can see, I've put in all my fields. So a very short document. We instantly can see the power of this by then previewing the results. Yes, unfortunately, this is my dummy entry. So the student ID would normally be here. But then we've got the summary statement. So this briefing shows some learning, blah, blah, blah. This is designed as an introductory statement. Then you'll see here, so overall the briefing demonstrates, overall the briefing, that's the text from this document. And then it drags through my overall grade descriptor from the template. So overall this briefing demonstrates some familiarity. So this is designed to instantly allow the student to connect my comments on their work with the descriptor and therefore the grade for this competency area. Then you will see that this is then explained using each individual component of comment that I've used to sort of evaluate this overall competency. So you'll see the first part that the executive summary should be titled as such, but is solid. So I think that's an other comment. That's not a templated one. Normally the comment here is, executive summary is excellent because X, Y, and Z, or executive summary fails to show learning about how to do this because of X, Y, and Z. Hopefully, because I've paid attention to the sort of the grammar and the capitalization, etc. This might read as a not particularly kind of natural paragraph, perhaps, but this is something that can be refined with time. So here we've got some nice sort of linking phrases. So in the future, so moving from the justification of the mark through to providing feed forward for future assessments where it's relevant. And you can see here at the bottom, this comment is obviously quite a stringent one. It's around the use of appropriate research process and professional search engine for credible literature. So here I can make the suggestion that this must be improved in year 2. So here we have, this is quite nice. So here we have, I've just written this template. So here we can see that I haven't quite aligned the templated statements with the template in the Word document. So here I would need to put the work. The work demonstrates some awareness, and then blah 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 blah. So that all looks good. So what we can see here, I said it would be instant. For the cost of reading the work, again, which would always need to be the same, going down a form and ticking some boxes, I've generated around 1.5 pages of prose feedback for the students. Now, this, of course, is templated, but it appears to the student as if it is written, and that's not a deception that I try to hide. If a student were to ask about it, I would be transparent about the way this feedback is generated. But to me, this communicates, well, first of all, this provides an exceptional amount of detailed feedback and feed forward to the student in a way that would never be possible if I wasn't using this form. The additional components of this, in my view, is that it sends a signal to the student that their work is valued. So in the substantive sense, I am providing lots of feedback. It hasn't taken me a huge amount of time, but when a student opens this, what this will say to what I think this says to the student is, wow, this is the most feedback I've ever had. And they will hopefully see that through the mixture of templated information and the free text. So here I've got a specific reference to something in the student's work. They will see that the specifics of their work have been valued. So this is not the same as them being presented with a pre-formatted piece of paper where boxes have been ticked, which obviously very clearly says, boxes have been ticked. Not that it's an intentional masquerade, but I think this changes something subtle but very, very important about the way we engage our students in terms of providing feedback and feed forward. Now, in the case of my institution, we have a bespoke platform for students to submit and for feedback to be provided. What I then need to do is to break this up. So I would go to, I think I've got 3 records in here. So I would go to finish, and if I'd have asked students for email addresses, or if I'd have put, email addresses in my form, then I could email students straight back, but that's not how we do things. So I will need to create individual documents, and all of them. So this will then broken down. This, as mail merge users will know, creates one large document. And what you then need to do is to break that one large document into a whole series of individual documents where each set of student feedback is separate. This is why it's really important to have the student ID, or part of the reason it's important to have that, and also to use the headings. Now, I'm not going to talk about that now. You can find out in other places how to then save those files individually by the student ID, and then to upload them to a system, or I might make a quick follow-on video about how to do that. But hopefully this has been a quick overview as to a technique that can very dramatically increase the value and specificity of the feedback that you can provide to your students in probably a greatly reduced time than you're currently using to provide a level of feedback that's, I would suggest, is likely to be less than this. So hopefully you found that helpful.